Hello and welcome to Tabletop 24. I'm Alan.
I'm John. I'm Brian.
And welcome to another episode of We'll Play Again, where we take a look at games we've recently got to the table with a view of how quickly we can get back to the table. With ever-growing collections, time can be precious, so we answer the question of, would we play again? Today we have Clank Catacombs from Direwolf Games. Now, this is the latest Clank, and we have covered a lot of Clank on the channel already in What Play Again's for Clank, Clank in Space, and Clank Acquisitions Incorporated. So to say that we like Clank here is probably a bit of an understatement on there.
I'd say it's a group favourite, I would say.
Yeah. So with Clank, you are adventuring into this version of the Catacombs using your deck, and you're going to be deck building as you go through. Each player will start off with a very standard deck of cards that are either going to make some noise, allow us to purchase some other cards, or start off with some very basic movement. These will come out through our adventure row where we can pick those up, which will eventually make our deck stronger, and so we can go further into the dungeon with the view of getting our hands on some artifacts. The further we go into the dungeon in this version, the better the artifacts are going to be. So where this varies from any other version of Clank is, as you will probably see, there is no board. These have these tiles. We will first start off with going through some safe tiles, and then we are in the depth. And we will start coming across some hazards, and everything may get a little bit more tricky, but that's where we're going to find our artifact. Now, when a player has enough movement that they can move off a tile, they declare their move. They then take the top tile of the deck, and they will then position it however they should feel benefits them the most. So you may find that if I'd have moved off this side, that I want to go in there to pick up a minor secret. Or alternatively, I might have set this up so that I could go down this side, pretty much blocking people from this side because they're not going to want to take damage in one of the tunnels. We'll go through, and like I say, we'll get some more advanced tiles, such as this one with the waypoints, or this one with ghosts, which will be putting our white cubes in the bag, which damage everybody when they're pulled out. And others that you'll see will start getting some benefits as we go through, some better treasures and such. So a lot more going on with the board in this one that's a little bit different. We will also have the opportunity to come across prisoners, and these prisoners will give us benefits based on certain play styles or just one-time benefits. So such as this one, if we've got two secret tomes, gets only 5 points. So they're there. We will also see the return of the market and major and minor secrets. Something that is a little bit different is lockpicks. So whereas there used to be the master key that would get us through any door, the lockpicks will be used to go on tunnels, or alternatively, if I can find one, on libraries. So we can unlock that library there, or prisons. And so we will be using them to get through, but we only start off with 3. We can pick others up via certain cards or from the market that we can get there. See the standard return from the Goblin, Explore, Mercenary, and Secret Tome, as we would expect. When we make noise in the dungeon, we will be putting cubes into our bag. So everybody starts off with their 2 basic stumble cards. And then should the dragon attack, which might come out via the market, and you watch, we won't be able to find one now. There we are. Should the dragon attack, then we will pull cubes out of the bag, depending upon how far up the track the dragon is. Anybody's cube that comes out is damaged. If you reach 10 damage, then unfortunately you are knocked out. If you are knocked out in the depths with the darker tiles, you don't score any points. If you're knocked out in the pink tiles or the purple tiles, you will score points of what you've got. But if you get out, you get a mastery token, which will give you an additional 20 points. And also you've got to safety.
You missed a bit. No, okay.
That's a lot to go into in that. But anybody that's familiar with Clank is going to be fairly familiar with this. The rulebook does a very good job of just pointing out what's different, which is quite nice, especially for us, where we've played all of the other versions. And actually, this takes a leaf out of Clank Acquisitions Incorporated, where that, again, does the same thing. It will just tell you what's slightly different, which is quite nice. But there's a lot here. But one thing I do like, straight out, is it's a lot quicker to set up because you're not putting the stuff on the board. Now, there's still a lot of stuff here, but it does set up a bit quicker because you're not going, oh, where do I put these artifacts? Anybody's seen the 10 artifact space? So it's a bit quicker to set up because you're building the board as you go. But with that comes a lot more variety as well. We've all pretty much said that the previous Clank boards are fairly static.
Yeah.
And they don't really give us much to sort of to go with. And the replayability is in the group rather than in the components. Whereas here, even if you get this same tile out on your next play, you won't turn it that way. You won't turn it that way. You won't turn it that way. That's 4 ways just off one tile.
Yeah.
Let alone then however many other tiles you go through.
It does break that meta of the original boards where you know your route to get to that treasure.
Yeah, some routes are more easy to go through than others.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can block routes.
Some of the boards were worse than others for that. With the Egyptian ones, there was an easy out and things like that. So yeah, this is a much better version of it. And Brian, the fog of war aspect of you don't know where you're going.
Yeah, because you basically choose a direction before you reveal, and that might force you to go through a monster which you didn't really want to go, or a less favourable room. So that's quite nice, and it's quite thematic, what I find, for the exploring the dungeon.
Yeah, well, unless you had a map of the dungeon and knew where everything was, you wouldn't know where you're going. Like we dungeon delve all the time. So yeah, I like that aspect of it. It's random every single time.
I mean, sometimes that can catch you out as well, because there's some cards in here which later just rotate a piece on the board, and that can set all sorts of hairs running. I guess in principle you could find yourself trapped because of that. Be interesting to see how that.
I was thinking I'll ask him, didn't you get caught when a room got rotated and there was just no better way for you to rotate it than what it was already?
Pretty much, yeah. That adds a little bit of chaos to the game, and I quite like that, even though it wasn't good for me at the time.
I like the randomness of it, of when you draw the cards and you don't know what you're getting. The teleport.
If you set the board up nice, you can teleport from one teleport space to any other teleport space, and if you set yourself up just right, you can get back fairly easily.
Yeah.
But again, it allows you that actually sometimes back isn't the quickest route to get back. You actually want to go forward to find something.
It's interesting, in the original game you kind of all went down the same route, and at some points you diverged, but normally you're all going the same way, and you can tell which sort of artifacts are going. But there's no point in following somebody else, because you don't know where they're going, and you could reveal more for yourself if you go a different route. The artifacts come out in order, so 5 comes out first, then 7, and there are tiles where you skip 2 artifacts and pick the next one down, so you can get a better artifact and possibly get out quicker. So you don't really want to follow other people and rely on what they're revealing. You want to choose your own route, which probably leads to the biggest downside of this game, which is the sprawl. It has the same problem as Carcassonne does, in that you do not know where it's going to end up. However you set up and wherever you start on Carcassonne, it is going to be falling off the edge of one end of the table.
And it's
or
already
the other.
taken up a lot of space just from that very first move, essentially.
Yeah.
And once you added 10 of those, it could be.
Yeah. And actually, you might favourably just want to go in one direction, but it just it can catch you out with where you put it. But any sort of tile laying game that's got an unlimited sort of spatial run, Carcassonne is the prime example. You quite quickly end up going, I'm just going to shove this along.
Everybody's hands on.
Yeah.
Every game's a Dex game. We say it every time, but I say it like it's a bad thing, but it's not, because I really enjoyed the randomness of playing it every time. It's been different.
It felt really fresh. Yeah,
every time does feel fresh.
There's a new set of cards as well that came with this game, so there's some things in there we've not seen before. So again, we said that when we were playing it, how many different versions of these cards can you keep doing? But whatever the limit is, it's not been reached yet. So
There's some variations on some classics. There's the things that, so one of the cards that stands out from Acquisitions Incorporated every time is Sales Call. It's a very, very good. I think it's moved to gain 2 coins.
Yeah.
There's a very similar card in here. So there is those variants on there, and there are cards that you'll put more value on than others.
I think in other versions of Clank, movement isn't such a priority, but in this, the first time we played this, we did. Got no points.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Go again. And you do really need to start picking up more movement, and all of a sudden, all of your explores are gone. And you in ones where there's 2 movement, you need to pick up and prioritize those so you can move quickly.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that lock picks, once you've opened a lock, it's opened. That's so thematic rather than the master key. A couple of people.
So you can follow somebody through a tunnel they've unlocked, which you couldn't do before.
Yeah. And there's little bits like the prisoners. The prisoners are slightly different.
Yeah.
They had another mechanic. These people that you're going to unlock that help you along with your adventure, that might give you some extra treasure when you escape, and it
Give you a boon, heal you, things like that.
Yeah, and it's nice. So just obviously pointing back to the deck, you can play this with all other what I would say fantasy themed Clanks. I obviously wouldn't put Clank.
I wouldn't
place
put
in
the
there.
Clank underwater in there because there's no point in having the breathing apparatus or anything like that. But
Yeah, so you can play it with all the others. It's completely compatible with things like the Adventuring Party and all of the sort of the upper management pack and that sort of thing that came out around the same sort of time of Acquisitions Incorporated. So you can add even more variety to that.
But it's a standalone game. You can just play the one game, and you've got everything you need to play Clank.
So, given all, I've got every version of Clank bar Clank Legacy, Acquisitions Incorporated, and I would say for me that if I had to recommend one for people to buy, I would pick this one. This just adds so much more variety, depth, unfamiliarity, and surprise to the game. I think Clank, I love the original Clank, and I'd be forever grateful for picking it up. Thanks, Sam. And the game is so good, but this just kicks it up a notch.
I think for me,
Spice Weasel, bam.
Yeah, I would counter it slightly and say if you haven't played Clank before, there might be a few extra bits in here that would take you a bit of time to get used to. And I think
Possibly.
if you're playing this with somebody that hasn't played Clank before, they could quite easily get caught out with that first play. Like we had our very first play, we didn't make it out. I mean, and we're what I would say is fairly experienced,
Seasoned clankers.
Yeah, exactly. So it can catch you out in that regard, and I think I would probably recommend Clank to people first, but I would probably say find somebody that's got a copy, play it. If you like it, this is the one to get.
Yeah.
It's interesting on Reddit. A lot of people say, "Oh, recommend me a game. I played this, this, and this." And the first game that always pops up. If you haven't played Clank, play Clank, because it's just it's one of the. If there's a top shelf of the hobby, I think this is there. This is one of those ones that's just reach for that. Oh, Clank. Oh, you got Clank in your collection. I don't think you get any complaints from any of our gaming group about it. Somebody's get Clank out at all.
Yeah, and obviously because there are so many different versions of it, you can have that variety.
Yeah.
But I think this does give you that variety in a box.
Out of the box. Yeah.
Now I think the bit that we quite quickly said is, when's the next expansion? Yeah. Because we like it, we want to play it more, and there is a lot of our variability out of the box, but what else are they going to do?
Yeah, you can see it coming. It's over there. You can see it coming. You can see it coming a mile off. And that ain't a bad thing. I want more Clank. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I want more.
And we've all obviously played Acquisitions Incorporated, and we were saying how much actually you could do with this on a legacy basis. Take tiles out, change tiles, add stickers to tiles.
Yeah.
And then
start with these 4.
Yeah. And actually predetermine maps. So look, it's let's be honest.
It's Clank, but more Clank.
It's more Clank. A lot of new mechanics. I think it notches that complexity up a bit, which comes to my point of I would suggest people play Clank before they play this. If they've never played a Clank, unless they're a seasoned gamer, then I would recommend Clank over this.
I'd play this with non-Clank. If you're playing with people who don't understand Clank and you've never played any Clank before in a group of people, then yes. But if you've got 1 or 2 people who will play this with us, I don't think that'd be a problem because we'd be there to help them.
And there's another option that you could potentially play out a specified map. So you could predetermine these tiles, so it's just like a board. And so actually you could...
Yes, but why?
to give people that clear view. Then that's one of the benefits of the original Clank. Is yes, you've got the predetermined routes.
It can get asymmetric because you get all the teleporters over here.
Yeah.
And nothing over here. We had that in one of our games. And so
I mean, there are the additions of shrines. So typical. There we go. And you add one of your cubes in there, and every time you add another cube, you get coins. And the first time we played it, I had this lovely tray of shrines with all these cubes over here, and I was wandering over here, not really paying attention to and getting all the cash. But you know, that's the
randomness of other people messing you out.
Yeah.
Just for no fault of their own. Just good for them.
So we've laboured on a lot of it. I think, yes, variability, masses of variability, adds a little bit more complexity. It's not a complex game by any standard, but I think a part of that does come from us playing a lot of Clank. So
the push your luck element in it has been just taken up that notch with the fact that you don't know where you're going. You know, original Clank, you knew if somebody got that one and you could see they were going to make a bolt for the exit, you think, I've got a couple all around before I need to really panic and start getting out. But this, with the random nature of it, you know,
I'll just hang a left down here. Oh no, and you've got that.
That's her. But yes,
So everything said, John, would you play again?
I'll play again now. So totally, it's Clank, for God's sakes. Yeah, this has probably become my favourite version of it. Not that I'd probably get rid of the other versions, but yeah, this is my favourite version, and I would play this again right now.
I would play this again now. I love it, and I don't have Clank. I'm going to buy this Clank.
There you go.
What's that?
For me, we'll play again soon. I love it. I think it is the Clank for me now. I've never been as fond of Clank in Space as these two have, and I think this does enough to knock that out of the water. And basic Clank is basic Clank. You needed the expansions to add variability. This, straight out of the box, it's got everything. So for me, it's the Clank for me. So, but that all said, thank you for watching along. If you haven't done so already, check out our other videos on the channel. Check out our other We'll Play Agains for all of the other Clanks if you are interested in that. Give us a like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.